Ladies and gentlemen, for this next part, we're going to start using a program called Photopea. As you can see on our teams, I put out a link to that website. When you click on it, it's going to take you to this page. On this page, you may notice it for you, for the first time you're going to open it up, there may be a really big sort of, not error message, but like advertisement. It's going to have a giant X on it. You could just close that window out. I don't have that because I've opened this program up several times. Now, it's a computer program, but it's on a website. We're not going to buy the program and download it, so we're going to have to work on it off the web. So the important thing for you at home that you're working is that when you save this, you're saving your file to your computer, to your device. But the issue is that you can't just click on that file and it opens up like your normal stuff. So like if you save like a Word document, you know, you just double click on that document and it just opens up in the program. Here we're going to have to go to this website every day and then open up our project from the website. The website's called Photopea.com. Photopea is basically a free bootleg version of Photoshop. Photoshop is the industry standard in photo editing. You probably heard it used on a million models' Instagrams or Kardashian Instagrams. But Photoshop is used from everything to photo retouching, to drawing and painting on it, and also even video editing. It's an expensive program. It's a big program. Your devices couldn't hold it. So Photopea, for whatever reason, I don't know why they're able to get away with it, but they basically have made their own copy of it. It looks almost the same. All the tools and the functions, for the most part, are the same. All the shortcuts are the same. So if we were in regular class right now at school, you'd be using Photoshop on the school devices. Since we don't have that, we're going to be using Photopea.com. And again, if you learn how to use this, you know how to use Photoshop. And that's actually a job skill. Whatever you want to do, if it's in a creative field, knowing how to use Photoshop is an important skill. And again, you're learning it right here. So on the web page, we're going to go, and on the very first thing, you're going to see this window in the middle, which says new project, open from computer, PSD templates, yada, yada, yada. We're going to go open from computer. And what we're going to look for is we're going to look for the photo that you guys took of your artwork. It might be the photo you have submitted, or it could be another photo you took of your picture. We're going to open that up. When we open that up, you're going to see it come up on the screen. What you see over here is not the browser top menu, but the top menu for Photopea. So file, edit, image, this gray area is all representative of the options in Photopea. Underneath that top menu, you're going to see a bar over here. This bar that I'm mousing over right now is tool options. So you have many different tools, and these are the options for those tools. Now, they'll change from tool to tool, and there are so many of them, I could never teach you all of them. I don't know them all. But as you go to your toolbar, which is here on the left-hand side, when you click on a tool, you'll notice that that bar over there changes with each tool, giving you different options for that tool. And again, I'll go over what we need to know there. In the center of the screen, what you're going to see is you're going to see your photograph. And the photograph you have is also going to be represented by a little box over here that says background. If you notice in this area in the right-hand side, you're going to see there's a Layers tab. That tab says Layers. And then you see you have a small thumbnail picture of your photo and the word background next to it. We're going to be working with multiple layers and adding layers to our project as we work. This is an area you're going to need to know about. The layers window also has layer options, and they're down here. If you mouse over them, they'll tell you what they are. Like, for example, this one is delete layer. It looks like a little waste paper basket. This one is new layer. Those are the important ones we're going to need to know. The first thing we're going to do to our picture is we're going to brighten it up. For a lot of reasons, you may look at it and be like, well, it looks kind of gray, it looks kind of messy, I can see all my pencil lines. So we want to brighten it up. So the first thing we're going to do is going to go to Image, Adjustments, and then the word Levels. When we open up levels, you're going to see a window, a pop-up window comes up. Let's move that out of the way so we can see our work. You're going to see channel RBG, and then underneath it, you're going to see like a graph or a grid. That is the representation of the light and dark in your picture. This side is the light, this side is the dark. Underneath it, you see a little black square, a gray square, and a white square. They have the same thing down over here, but we don't want to mess with this one. What we're going to do is we're going to stay on the top one. I'm going to go to the top one and I'm going to click on this little white box. I'm going to click and I'm going to start dragging that box towards the center. What you may notice is that my picture is getting brighter and brighter. Okay? If I go all the way over, it turns completely to white. I don't want that. I'd like to try to make my picture brighter, but I also don't want to lose the drawing. So I'm going to kind of find a spot. It might not be completely white, but a spot where my drawing looks a bit brighter, and a lot of that gray has disappeared. Now, you can see I still have some of that static in here, all right, some of that gray. So after I've done this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that next box, which is the gray box over here. I want to move that box over, and you can see that gets rid of some of that problem as well. Not going to be completely white and completely clear, but it's going to be better. When I find a spot that I like it, you might notice that, all right, now my picture looks pretty, it looks better, but I still have my lines being a little bit too light. That's when I'm going to click over to the black box, and I'm going to start moving that black box towards the center. And what happens is that's going to make my lines a lot darker. Now, I don't want it to look like this. I certainly don't want it to look like this. My goal in doing this right now is to brighten up my drawing, make it a little bit whiter, make the darks a little darker, and sort of get rid of some of that extra static. I think this looks pretty good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click OK. That's going to save that sort of change. I might want to click on this and try to see what that looks like a little bit closer. One thing I can do is I could use a shortcut to zoom in and zoom out. So the shortcut is hold down the Control key and then press the plus. Plus is right on the top row of your keyboard. It's next to the backspace or delete. And when I press the plus or the minus, I can zoom in and zoom out. When I zoom in and zoom out, I can see, looks like my drawing is pretty clear to look at. It's a little bit of gray in it, but that's really not a big problem. It looks nice and crisp and clean, and I can see the whole thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just zoom out. Now what I want to do, since you've drawn 3 drawings, is I want to get rid of some of this extra stuff in the background, like the other people in the picture. To do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my toolbar, and I'm going to go down to the 4th tool. It's called the crop tool. When you mouse over it, you're going to see it says crop tool. It looks like 2 right angles that have sort of overlapped on one another. I'm going to select it. When I have the crop tool, you'll see that little plus on my screen. What I can do is click and drag through my picture. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag a rectangle that fits around the one part of the picture that I like. When I do that, you're going to see that it sort of makes this gridded box over top of it. I can adjust that gridded box by clicking on any one of those little dots in the corner. You've probably used something like this in other programs or in Word when you wanted to resize a picture. In this case, what it's doing is resizing the crop, which is going to cut out everything that isn't in that box. When you have this positioned in a way that fills the picture with your model, you can hit return or enter. And what should happen right there is that everything except for what was in the box should get cut out. What we just did right now is we prepared our picture to be colored. At this point, what I want you to do is I want you to save this project. To do that, we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Save as PSD. This is an important step. you'll see the save option isn't even really there. And if you try to save it through your browser, it's not going to work. So what we're doing is File, Save as a PSD. That is Photoshop document. And that will open up in regular Photoshop as well if we ever get back into school. When we click Save, it's going to come out of whatever the name of it is, .psd, and it's going to immediately go into your Downloads folder. So when you're trying to find this later, you're going to find it in your Downloads. When you try to go open this tomorrow, that's where you're going to get it from. This part, preparing your drawing for coloring, is going to be a project. And the project will be just to open it up, brighten it up, and crop it. To submit that project, what you're going to have to do is do a screenshot. You could do that with your snipping tool on your computer, or if you know the shortcut, which I think is Control-Shift-S, you could take a screenshot. But this screenshot is what you're going to submit. In the screenshot, I should see your drawing and Photopea with your Windows layer. That'll be posted later, and you can submit that. I'll give you 15 points just for doing that. Once you're done with that, now we're going to get into the coloring part. I'm going to go, when I open up Photopea, and this might be tomorrow, the next day, whenever, I'm going to hit Open from Computer. I'm going to find the PSD file of my project, and I'm going to open it up. Again, Control plus and Control minus will zoom in and zoom out. I'm going to zoom in over here a little bit on our face. First thing I'm going to do is to start coloring is I need to create a new layer. I don't want to do any work to the background. So for the background, what I'm going to do, you can see this layer right here. There's a little eyeball. When I click on that eyeball, it just makes it disappear. It shows that it's invisible. And invisible in this program is a checkerboard, just like this. When I click it back, it reappears. And then right above it, you can see this lock. I'm going to lock that layer so I don't mess with it and I don't change it and do anything to it. Now I'm going to create a new layer. To create a new layer, we're going to go to the bottom corner over here. I'm going to go right next to that waste paper basket, which says Delete Layer, is New Layer. When I click New Layer, you're going to see Layer 1 pops up. You can see that little checkerboard inside the thumbnail. That is because that layer is transparent. I'm going to rename that layer. I'll call it Skin. Now I'm going to go to my toolbar to pick a color. To pick a color, you're going to go down to the color picker. You can find that down at the very bottom of the toolbar. There are going to be two boxes. They could be different colors than what you have on my screen, but most likely they'll be black and white. You'll see a small little arrow underneath them. The top box, for me right now, is black. I'm going to click on it. When I click once on it, you're going to see the color picker pop up. Color picker gives us our sort of rainbow bar, which I can slide my mouse up and down on. And then I can click anywhere inside this square. When I click, it selects the color I clicked on. To find a skin color, I'm going to move my bar down to like the orange area on my actual rainbow. So I get to orange and closer to red. You're going to find that over here you're going to find some lighter skin options. And you can click around to try to find the best one. There is no right or wrong place to pick for skin color, but I would tell you down here in the orange sort of area is probably where you're going to find your best option. Whatever color you decide to use, when you have it, all you want to do is click OK. If you did it correctly, the color you want will be in that box, that top box. Now to start painting, we're going to need to use the paintbrush on the toolbar. The paintbrush is right in the middle. Should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. If you can't find it, when you mouse over it, it should say Brush Tool. Inside it also says the letter B. If you press the letter B on the keyboard, it'll automatically select it. But I'll just select it here manually, the Brush Tool. Your brush tool is going to be on your screen as a little circle, okay? That circle is your paintbrush. If you make some mistakes like I did, like I just played around over here and I want to get rid of them, you can hold down Control and then press the letter Z. Control and Z, like 0, is undo. So if you do a bunch of nonsense and you want to get rid of it, Control Z will do that. You can also notice when I do stuff, it pops up over here on what's called my history. I can also undo things by clicking backwards on my history. Now the brush itself will come in at probably like 15 or 13 or whatever. You can see the size of the brush right up here. This is the brush options. We don't want to mess with anything right now except for the size. So you'll see a small version of the brush right here, and then next to it you'll see a circle and a triangle. Underneath the circle will be a number. I'll click on that. That number is the size of the brush. The bigger the number, the bigger the brush. Underneath it is hardness. Right now, we're not going to play with hardness. We're going to keep that at 100%. It doesn't matter what size your brush is, as long as you understand how you could change that size as necessary. I've got my color, and now I'm going to start painting. Again, if I want to zoom in closer, I'm going to hit Control plus. And then I'm painting. The issue is when I'm painting, I'm covering up my model's face. To fix that, we want to go to the layer itself. And that layer that I created called Skin, I'm going to go from Skin, and then I'm going to change it from Normal, and you can see the Normal right over here on the drop down, change it from Normal to Multiply. Once I do Multiply, you'll notice that whatever I do as far as coloring, well, I can still see my lines underneath. And that's how I'm going to create the colors for my actual face. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do a rough job of this. I'm going to finish coloring it up. Now, I think I've colored it the way I want to color it, but I made a little mistake. I colored outside the lines. I could try to just undo that and do it the right way, but another thing I could use is I could use the eraser tool. If I click and hold here, you'll see that the eraser tool is hiding underneath the brush tool. Mattering on how big your screen is, it could be on its own bar. The eraser tool is just the letter E. And when you click on the eraser tool, you'll notice again, it's also a brush. And it works the same way, except it takes things away. So if you didn't color in the lines or you want to touch things up, you can switch from your brush to your eraser, and you can kind of clean things up a little bit. Easy fixes. So what I would do right now, since I have my skin color, is I would go ahead and paint all the skin and try to get it all done at the same time. I'll do my hands, and I'll do whatever part of the legs that you could see. Actually, because this model is wearing what I'm going to make is a see-through sort of sleeve here, I'm also going to color her arms inside of it. And I'll show you later how we'll make that see-through fabric look see-through. Use your own best judgment. If you're working on a big area, use a big brush. If you're working on a small area, use a small brush. Again, this top part of my model's outfit is supposed to be sheer. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and color some of those things, like I'm coloring over the spaghetti straps and stuff up top. You know, not a big deal because I'm going to come back later on and erase it and clean it up. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to kind of just go through things a little bit quicker so I can get more done. And it's okay, I'm going to be a little sloppy too. I can clean this up later with my eraser. Important thing right now is that I get some coverage. Another thing that you can do for those of you who are at home is that if you have a stylus with your device, you can literally, you have a touch screen, so you can literally just use the stylus as sort of like a marker, and that will actually make this thing maybe a lot more funner to do. But I'm perfectly fine doing this on the trackpad. Okay, so there it is. I got the color. I actually made a couple cutouts in this dress as well, so I want to kind of make those things painted in as well, the same skin color. So I'm going to do all my skin and get that over with in this first shot. Okay, and that was the first part of this project. Now, the only thing else you need to know is now I want to color something else. So what I'm going to tell you to do is that every part of your model's outfit and like part of her should be its own layer. The reason why is because that becomes very easy for us later on to change colors without having to change everything. So I've created a layer here called skin. I'm now going to create a new layer. And when I create that new layer, it's called layer 1 again. In this case, I'm going to rename that layer dress. You can rename that layer pants or shirt or blouse or bra or whatever you want, but I would give the layer a specific name. You could change the name of the layer by clicking directly on the word, double-clicking, and then typing. If you double-click in this area, you're going to get a layer style option. You don't want that. So to change the name of your layer, it's clicking directly on the word. Now I'm going to decide I want to make this dress a different color. I like blue, so I'm going to go with dark blue over here. I'm going to hit OK. I've created a new layer. I'm on that layer. You can see how it's selected. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit. I think I need my brush to be a little bit larger, so I'm going to adjust that. And I'm going to start painting. Once again, you can't see through the painting that I've done. So what I need to do is I need to go to the dress layer where it says normal and switch it to multiply. Okay? If you end up going over some of the skin, you're going to see that you're going to see two layers of color on top of one another. Not exactly what you want. So we want to make sure that we're coloring around each one of those colors. And if we make any mistakes, you obviously already know how to use our eraser tool. I'm going to go ahead and just do a little bit more coloring in here and then do a little fixing up. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get my eraser out, and I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup and around this blue dress, seeing that I don't quite like some of the edge work that I did. I'm going to go ahead and like that. So adjust this a little bit smaller. Control plus. Control minus to zoom in, zoom out. I'll go in. So there, so far so good. What I would do now for things like the shoes is I would create another layer for shoes. On this side, I think I wanted a bright red shoes. I'm going to go to multiply once again, and then I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on that. So the one thing I will tell you as you're working is that you should create a new layer for each part of your drawing. Why? When you can just do this all on one layer? I'm going to show you in a second, and I think it'll be a helpful thing for those of you who are aspiring fashion designers. All right. So as you see over here, I have multiple layers. I have one layer called shoes. I can hit the eyeball on that. That makes them appear and disappear. The dress, the skin, the background. You can see what it looks like without the background on it. All right, so let's just say, why should I have it on a different layer? Let's look at this, and let's say I come back tomorrow and I decide, tomorrow I don't want a blue dress. I want to change the color of the dress. So what do? Do I erase the whole thing and just make a new one? Well, I can click on that layer. You can see how I'm selecting different layers here. I'm going to click on dress. I'm going to show you some advanced tools here. One of them's under image, adjustments. It's called hue and saturation. When I get a pop-up window, when I get that pop-up window, you can see I'm selected on dress. If I slide this on hue, you can see I can change whatever color I want in the rainbow, the dress. Now let's just say I want green, but I don't want bright green. That's where I go into saturation, and I lower the saturation. You can give us a dark, sort of, I guess, deep forest green, or a really bright neon green. I can even then adjust the lightness of that and make it a little bit darker, and so like evening wear, or almost to like a blackish green. Or I can bring that all the way up to make it sort of like a pastel for Easter. By adjusting hue and saturation, I could change any color of anything here. But if I had multiple colors on the same layer, well, if I change the dress, then the shoes would change too. I'll go ahead, I'll leave her in a green dress. I'm going to end the demo right now on that. And tomorrow or Thursday, I'll demo some other more advanced options for you. I know that was a lot, but it's recorded. So if you need to stop, pause it, rewind, and watch it again.